Web Radio WCWP in Brookville, New York welcomes you to Taking Care of Business with your hosts Rick Frishman and Richard Solomon. We have an action-packed show today. Welcome, Rick.
Hey, Richard, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Rick is calling from a remote location. I think I heard some Iditarod dogs in the background before.
Okay, we're up here with all the dogs and having a good time in Alaska. And I got to get on my sled very soon, but I'm calling in just to make sure that we get on the air.
Well, it's good to have you. You see, the one great thing about the wonders of technology is that no matter where you are, you'll always be on Taking Care of Business with your hosts, Richard Solomon and Rick Frishman.
And since the last time you've heard our show, we have our own website we should tell our listeners, which is great.
Could you tell them?
We can. It's called, what is it, tcbradio.com.
That's right, tcbradio.com, and that includes archives of the show. So if you can't catch us on Thursdays at 2 o'clock live, go into the website and you'll see on tcbradio.com our archive shows.
That's right, and you can also get to it at webradiowcwp.com as well. But I happen to know, in fact, that many people have gotten up in the middle of the night after, not being able to sleep because they think about this show, and they have listened in at 2 in the morning.
Well, in fact, I've been getting some feedback and interesting emails from people. People have been really loving the show, and we've been getting a great response, and we welcome comments. Rick, if they want to send you an email, what should they do on our website?
Well, they can just go to our website, but my email is rick@rickfrishman.com, and it'll go right to me, and yours is?
info@smallclaimsbook.com.
And please email us, send us comments. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, or if you know a business person, an author, a celebrity, and we have a lot of celebrities coming up in future weeks who you think would be right for this show, then please email us, and we have lots of prizes. I mean, the first person who emails us with a great guest gets a free Mercedes. Isn't that right?
Yes. Now that's a Mercedes watch.
Right. No, it's actually a woman named Mercedes who we have with us in the studio at all times.
Well, speaking of giveaways, believe it or not, we actually have a few giveaways today. We have some very special radio information in the form of music. Normally, Rick and I are in the field of intellectual property when it comes to the authorship of books, promoting authors. But today we actually are going a little bit into a new direction, and that is the business of music, and especially pop music and rock music and industrial music and all that good stuff. And we're here today with Tim Veely. And I'm going to put his mic on and I'm going to introduce him. So good afternoon, Tim.
Hey, Rich, how's it going?
You've had an incredible career so far in the music industry, and you're quite a young man, relatively speaking. Share with us a little bit about yourself, about some of the different music projects you've done, the bands you've been a part of, and who you've met along the way.
Okay. I started professionally as a guitar player when I was about 20. And I played in local bands in New York, and through that ended up playing jingles in the city, and then went out on tour professionally with a couple of bands. One of the more popular ones was a band on Metal Blade Records called ChemLab, and we played the major market industrial tour market. We toured with Guar across the country. ChemLab had also played with Nine Inch Nails, White Zombie, KMFDM, Sister Machine Gun, and we were going to get a gig after that touring with Marilyn Manson in Japan, but that didn't happen. So after that, I went out on my own with a band, playing with ex-rock stars from the heavy metal circuit. One of the bands was called GOP, Girls of Porn, with lead singer Ray West from Spread Eagle on MCA Records. And we played out for a couple of years, touring East Coast. And then I came back in between and played on jingles and television spots. in New York. I played on the Food Network for CBS, A&E, Lifetime Television, and I've done Sprite, jingle for Sprite, a bunch of recordings, and a bunch of other things.
Oh, cool. Now, how'd you hook up with sort of the commercial jingles? In fact, one of the very interesting performers who did jingles was Barry Manilow. In fact, he was the one who wrote "And Like a Good Neighbor, State Farm is There," and so he still gets royalties from that, even though he does things like Mandy and the Copacabana. How'd you hook up with that?
Well, during my time in Brother Mustard, we were pretty popular in New York. We had a very big following. In about 95, our own record came out. We were playing with bands like the Spin Doctors, and the Living Color crowd would come out and see us. The Spin Doctors were sort of friends through the grapevine, and we had actually played a college gig with Blues Traveler, but we were getting a pretty big following in New York. Warren Haynes from the Allman Brothers came out and saw us play.
Oh, wow, that must have been incredible.
Yeah, he was interested in helping manage. At that time, a lot of things were happening, and towards we ended up being courted by a bunch of record labels. Nothing really happened the way we wanted to. We went to record negotiation with an indie, and that's another story that we can get to later on.
Oh, absolutely.
With
I want to talk all about the music business and all that good stuff.
But basically, after that happened, a couple of people who were fans of Brother Mustard were in the jingle business and sought me out for playing on all sorts of records and recordings, including some of their own project artists for demos for Sony. Sony read a lot of hip hop artists, so I was playing and getting paid to play on demo recordings for artists, for recording sessions, and also for jingles and television spots during that time. It was very cool.
Wow. Let's just talk a little bit, because people always talk about the road, and there's so many songs about the road. You hear about Bob Seger talking about it. You hear Van Halen talking about it. Real fast, just what's it like? Is it more glamorous in theory, or is it as glamorous as it can be?
Well, I've been.
Remember, this is family radio.
I've about all the pot and
I've been on a bunch of tours, but I don't want to say some of the tours were not as big as some of the very large major supported tours. But I was on a large supported tour with a tractor trailer, lighting rig, the whole nine. We played very large venues. That tour, everything was taken care of, money-wise, etc. It was still tough to negotiate, my deal in the band, and that's another business thing we could talk about. But basically, it was a blast. You got paid per diem during the day, and then most of the shows were catered, so there was food. You play we were an opening band, so we were the opener in local market. So we played for about 45 minutes, and then a headliner would come on. There was usually a local opener for us, some of which were Seven Dust, which is a very famous band. They're out now, still playing, and Mushroom Head. That was a metal band. They're still out. They had a recent release, but they were opening for us at the time. Life was killer. You're in a bus or a van for a while. We would share the tour bus with Guar. They had the Henry Rollins tour bus, which slept 15, including crew, and then they had another support vehicle that followed with other crew, a lighting rig, the whole deal, and then our van, which we rented from a company that Bob Dylan had just used out on tour.
Since we always talk about the business of music and the business of publicity, and just our show is called Taking Care of Business, one of the things I want to know is, and Rick, by the way, Rick is the author of Networking Magic. So do you find opportunities when you have these chances to, meet with people and you're on tour and you're meeting managers and promoters and other bands, other writers, the session musicians? Do you get the chance to network and to enhance your business potential when you do that?
All the time. It's not as easy as you would think, though, because a lot of it depends. There are certain moments when things are happening, and then there are times when everyone's just wants to go party or have a beer and not really they want to worry about their their band that they're managing, etc. Like a lot of times I was in situations where I wanted to get to the next level and I wanted to get into another band and or get another gig on the road, or get a recording in, and I met a couple of people at Metal Blade Records and a bunch of I met a lot of people in the record industry, and when you're out at shows or on tour, they'll say very nice things and things are great, but
that's the Iditarod in the background.
Right. Sometimes that kind of stuff doesn't pan out in the end, but a lot of times it's definitely a good idea to always network.
One of the questions that I have is you always hear about band conflicts, personal conflicts. Way back, you remember Fleetwood Mac and Mick Fleetwood wrote a book, and they talked all about the inner dynamics of the band. We hear about the personalities. We have a few minutes before our first break. How do you find dealing with sort of the management of personalities, of people who are creative people versus maybe some of the people who are more corporate, who don't understand so much? How do you balance all that out? What are some of the secrets you've learned, in terms of interpersonal skills? Because that's probably one of the most important parts of running a music business, is sort of dealing with the people.
Well, the higher up you go, the more influential, or the bigger the star, I should say, that I've met. They know more than you think. They are the ultimate artist, and I would say this across any media platform, is that they are definitely one part marketing genius, one part business person, another part musician, songwriter, artist, and they're able to package it all into one clean package so that they can actually support themselves and run their own business, handle their own. They don't expect other people to do it for them as much. They understand exactly what's expected of management. They understand exactly. I'm talking about the artist.
Let me ask you this: you're on the road. Is being on the road counterproductive to production, songwriting, or do you somehow just kind of squeeze it in? Or is it a little bit of both? Or do you get even inspiration on the road?
Yeah. You do get inspiration on the road. That's a great question. I am known pretty much as a fill-in and session guitar player for the most part in my commercial life. I write songs on my own, and I like to work with artists. But for the most part, when you're out on the road for somebody, you're expected to show up to the set knowing the material and knowing the songs, and it's somebody else's songs and somebody else's work, and you're a professional from when you leave the hotel room to when you hit the bus. And there was not a lot of time for me in between. You would think that there would be more time for songwriting, and yes, there is. I'm sure for a lot of artists who write their own music on the road, it can be very inspirational. But one of my first biggest tours, I was learning the ropes and having fun. If that answers your question.
It certainly does. And we're coming up on our very first break. When we come back, I'd love to play some songs for our listeners. And you are listening to Taking Care of Business on Web Radio WCWP in Brookville, New York. And we'll be back after these messages.
Ew, it stinks in here.
Passing gas in the company of others is not only taboo, it can be deadly.
I'm gagging.
Passing gas releases a plume of toxic vapors like ammonia and hydrogen cyanide.
Oh, you're killing us over here.
Daddy, you promised you'd smoke outside.
You're right, Pumpkin. Excuse me.
If you smoke, Take it outside. Don't pass gas. A message from the American Legacy Foundation and the Ad Council. Get the facts at don'tpassgas.org.
Hi, this is Ozzy Osbourne. For many years, you know I've had a drink problem, and I'm trying to battle that problem every single day. But one thing I don't do, I don't drive my car when I'm drinking. I get someone to drive me. Do not drink and drive. It's the stupidest thing. If you drink, just don't drive. Not only are you going to hurt yourself, you may hurt some other person, and you wouldn't want that on your conscience, would you?
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Think fast.
Now breathe.
Think slow. New research shows that regular exercise and a heart-healthy diet may reduce the risk of Alzheimer's disease. So think ahead. Contact the Alzheimer's Association for more ways to maintain your brain. It could make all the difference tomorrow.
We were there in times of war.
Today marks the anniversary of the end of the Korean War.
We were there in times of peace.
Wildfires in California are now under control.
For more than 50 years, the Air Force Reserve has been defending freedom around the world and protecting people and property here at home.
And in the war on terror, soldiers were airless.
We are the Air Force Reserve. Call 800-257-1212 or visit afreserve.com. Air Force Reserve, above and beyond.
And we're back. This is Web Radio WCWP in Brookville, New York, with your hosts Richard Solomon and Rick Frishman. Rick, are you back with us?
I am.
Excellent.
I got to compliment you, Richard. You searched far and wide, but this man is fantastic. I just love listening to, especially the stories on the road.
Oh, we all want the behind the scenes. In fact, one of the great things about our show is that we're going to be bringing people behind the scenes at a number of different places, back in publishing, meet the author, all these great things. Let's do this because time is always, it just seems to fly when you have great guests. And Tim, whose stage name is Tim Rockmore, or Timmy Rockmore, is a phenomenal rock guitarist, musician, session artist, composer. And I think what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to play a song right now. Why don't you set up the song for us? We're listening to a band called...
Oh, yeah, this is Brother Mustard. I mentioned them earlier. They are one of the first... my first pro band. I'm not sure what track you're going to play.
I'm going to play track number 8, It Don't Move Me.
Okay, this is a song that I wrote, It Don't Move Me.
Okay, and let's see...
So that's track number 1.
And we're back. You're listening to Web Radio WCWP in Brookville, New York. The show is Taking Care of Business with your hosts Richard Solomon and Rick Frishman. And through a lucky mistake on my part, we played New York from the album Brother Mustard. I really wanted to play track 8, but I think personally I have an affinity for that song. In fact, I'll tell our listeners a little secret. We put together a CD for my brother's bachelor party, and one of the songs that we put in the CD compilation was New York, because we know Tim Rockmore personally, and he was part of our cast of characters on our many antics. So let's talk about that track for a second.
Sure.
What was New York? What was the inspiration for the song?
Colin Tribby, who's the lead singer and songwriter for Brother Mustard, who's now, I believe, in North Carolina. We all sort of contributed musically, but Colin wrote most of the songs and the lyrics, and that was definitely a Colin song. Colin came from the South and loved New York, and the song is basically, about, how New York can just eat you up and spit you out, and
much like the Out of Towners movie,
right? It makes for a really funky, heavy song. We used to play it really live. I mean, really, heavy out live.
I remember seeing your band Brother Mustard play. I think it was Irving Plaza. That was a great gig.
Yeah, we played Irving Plaza. We used to pack out the China Club, and that's how Warren Haynes got to see us. They were sound checking for the Allman Brothers next door at the Beacon Theater, and that's how they happened upon Brother Mustard. We had a line out the door there's a certain time when we were really popular in New York, before we had record offers, or right before we put out our first record. But anyway, that particular record, it went out under the Wakamba record label, and sold locally, and sold out in New York. And it was great.
I actually am a proud owner of the Brother Mustard album. Came out in 1995. I'm looking at the copyright of the CD here. Wakamba Records, 1995. Since we want to be rolling along, how you doing, Rick?
I'm doing good. I shut off my microphone on my phone so that you don't hear the dogs. But
are they? How's the weather up in Alaska?
I'll tell you, we have really excellent weather up here. It's a little bit cold though, and but the dogs are keeping me warm. But I love Tim. I love listening to that song. Who is singing that song, Tim?
Okay, Tim can't hear because he doesn't have a headset on. But I'll repeat the question, which is
I'm sorry.
Who was singing the song in New York?
Oh, that was Colin, the Colin Tribby, the lead singer.
Wow.
And he was the guy who wrote it,
the band
too?
consisted of John Kushner on bass, Eric Stams on drums, and me on guitar.
Now, do you play in two roles in that? I think sometimes you play both lead and
rhythm guitar.
And
yeah,
rhythm.
I played most of the tracks on the albums, all the albums I have tonight, but definitely on Brother Mustard. Yeah.
Now, Rick,
and
the guy who sang the song, the lead singer, he was the one who wrote the song as well.
That's right.
Yes. All right, cool. Moving along, because this is a rapidly moving show. I want to, because we have this already queued up, and we're going to return to Brother Mustard in a second. I'm looking at a album here called Otto's Daughter, and the album is called Renew, and it's 2002 copyright. It's the first track is called Over It. Tell us real fast, give us a quick introduction.
Sure. Otto's Daughter, I had toured with ChemLab, and ChemLab was big in the industrial circuit, and we're friends with Nine Inch Nails and White Zombie, etc. Otto's Daughter had some interest from Trent Reznor on Nothing Records, and so this was the second release, and they sought me out to join the band, and during that period we kind of courted, and I worked and helped produce most of the guitar parts and songs on the record. Later on, the record aired all over college radio, and some of the releases ended up on K-Rock, on certain radio shows.
It's okay. We can mention them. It's
sure.
Okay.
Okay.
By the way, K-Rock is a New York. This is a international radio show. So the question is, could you describe what K-Rock is and who the K-Rock listening audience may be?
Oh, K-Rock, alternative hard rock radio, syndicated.
Based in New York.
It's based in New York, but it's also syndicated across the country through Clear Channel, I think.
Okay, and this track is Over It, and we're going to go to it right now. You are listening to Web Radio WCWP in Brookville, New York, and we are rocking. We got to take a couple of commercial breaks here, and we'll be back in a few moments, so stick with us.
You think you're invincible. I started out taking 1 to 2. I ended up taking 7 to 10. Nothing goes the way that people expect it to go. You don't remember things you're doing. Your body hurts. You're just worn down. With ecstasy, it was like one day I was healthy and had an immune system, and the next day I didn't. I would wake up sometimes like shaking. It's physically painful. Once I hit my absolute bottom emotionally and mentally, I just wanted to die.
A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free New York and America.
And they're off.
There's Dad on the inside, reaching for the TV remote. Mom looks at Jimmy. Jimmy takes his feet off the table. Kelly with the...
You can't get exercise jockeying for the remote. Your body needs real activity, and so do your bones. Without weight-bearing exercise, you could lose bone mass.
But it's Dad down the shag. He smothers the remote. It's Dad by a full body length.
Go to AAOS.org. Then get up, get out, get moving. A message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
It's the domain of legends, forever imprinted on cards clutched in young, eager hands. Now imagine these living myths are all turned to you, expectant.
This bat's yours, right?
That's the one, kid.
To a child with a life-threatening illness, being a bat boy for his favorite team wasn't the end of all his youthful hopes. It was the beginning. Visit the Make-A-Wish Foundation at wish.org and share the power of a wish.
You are listening to Web Radio WCWP in Brookville, New York, with your hosts Richard Solomon and Rick Frishman, and the show called Taking Care of Business. And today we are taking care of rock music business. So, Rick, what do you think so far?
Oh, this guy's incredible. How long have you been friends with Tim?
I've known Tim for at least 15 years. We've it's an interesting story. Myself and his father did a giant litigation in the federal courts of New York, and he said, "You know who you really like? You'd like my son." And we became instant friends. We've known each other for a long time. When his music came out, we supported him by going to see his shows. My brother Paul, who's a lawyer, is the owner of a Brother Mustard T-shirt. I'm sure in a few years it'll be destined to be an eBay, special or something to that effect.
Right.
But let me ask a couple of questions to Tim. If people want to get in touch with you,
sure.
How do they find you? Let me put on your microphone here, and let me put you back on.
Sure. You can get in touch with me via email, Timmy Rockmore.
Could you spell that out, please?
Okay. It's the email is Timmy_rock. So Timmy_rock 2006 at yahoo.com is where you can reach me, or you can Google me and find websites or interviews on me under Timmy Rockmore.
Okay. And is there any band websites we should point anybody to, or anything that you want to share with the audience?
Well, the current the band that's you're going to play later on is the new stuff I'm now playing, and I'm doing a couple of projects now, but I'm playing with band Jonestown. And you can go to Jonestown NYC.com to check out gigs and see where we're playing out.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Jonestown. Talk about the band, who they are, how'd you meet them, where they're headed, and what do you hope to accomplish with them?
Well, after I came out off tour, I got a little busy doing a couple of things, starting to play out with different artists and wanted to work on some songs and things. And I met Freddie Mac, who's the founder and lead singer and head honcho of Jonestown. He's a singer-songwriter. He was working on demos and came to New York. And I loved his songwriting, and I thought that we could do a lot better with his demo work. And so we started working on stuff, and it was pretty obvious that he was going off in a direction which was more suited to him. So we opted to put together a pro band around his songwriting, and that's what we did. And we came out with the Jonestown CD recently. We were in the studio for a year. Working on the record.
I believe you have a very interesting story when it comes to mastering.
Yeah. That particular CD, Freddie had friends mixing the record. One of his friends from Z100 and a couple of other people helped out with getting the right frequency and the bass and all the stuff out, so it's really poppy sounding and it jumps right off the CD. It is definitely radio ready package. We're looking now for local radio markets and promoters to get it out.
So is this a premiere in Long Island? This song?
Yeah, you're gonna hear this is a premiere. I think you had the
Slipped Away.
Away. Yeah. So
let's do Slipped Away.
Okay, sure.
Let's share that with our listeners. You're listening to Slipped Away.
Until I get the nerve to say, hey, won't you join me? Can't afford to see the game we all play. For someone to belong to, there's always something there to remind me. Well, I'll never find another girl like you. You slipped away. Well, there's nothing I could ever say or do to make you stay. Another day dead and gone. Maybe you're the one I long for, but now I miss you. Only I kiss you in my dreams for one more day. There was a love once upon a time was never mine. Another lonely teller for another round. For maybe once or twice it was nice to come kinda close to what I never knew. So all I do is fantasize. Was it the smell of the skin? I never knew exactly where to begin. My dream will never come true. There ain't a thing I can do that'll ever get you near me. Well, I'll never find another girl like you. You slipped away. Well, there's nothing I could ever say or do to make you stay. Another day dead and gone. Maybe you're the one I long for, but now I miss you. Only I kiss you in my dreams for one more day. And when I'm feeling overtaken by this feeling inside, just wanna go run and hide. This is the feeling that keeps me alive. I can't escape, no, you know I can't escape it.
You are listening to Web Radio. WCWP in Brookville, New York. The show is called Taking Care of Business. Today we're rocking out. It's rockin' Rich Solomon and rockin' Rick Frishman. How are you, Rick?
Hey, doing great. That was a really cool song.
Wasn't that? All right.
Yeah.
In fact,
I can't believe, I got to tell you, I've known you for a long time, but I can't believe that a guy like Tim, who's like ultra cool, rocker, tour, would be friends with somebody like you.
you have to pull a fast one over people's eyes sometimes.
Yeah, I don't get it, but you must be a good guy.
I try my best. Let's tell our listeners a couple things. That was a song from the Jonestown CD. The CD's called When It All Comes Down. It's a great CD. It's copyright 2005. It's brand new. It's brand spanking new. I got a shrink wrap copy right here. And for more information, you're going to go to jonestownyc.com. Or if you want to send an email to the band, it's info@jonestownyc.com. Phone number is 646-246-1134. These guys are just awesome. And to share this great music, we have 3 CDs for our listening audience, and we'll pick 3 people at random. If you send an email to either Rick or myself on tcbradio.com, if you send us an email that says, "Count me in for the contest" as the tagline, we will choose 3 people at random, and we will send out to you this phenomenal, beautiful CD. We only have a couple of seconds here before the break. So, Tim, could you stay a little bit longer and share some great music with us?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, wait, we didn't do it. Let's try that again. Could you stay a little bit and share some great music with us?
Yeah, sure thing.
I'm still learning how to use the equipment. Rick, how you doing? Is it still okay in Alaska?
It's great. Since we've started, it's gotten a lot colder here, and I'm starting to, my toes are getting cold, but the music is warming me up.
There you go. All right, well, the show is called Taking Care of Business. We're going to be back after a few quick breaks.
Volunteers of America is a national organization that for over 100 years has provided programs and services that allow people to overcome their challenges to become vital members of their community. At Volunteers of America, we don't just help people, we help people help themselves. Find out how you can support the programs that are working in your community. Contact Volunteers of America today. Call 1-800-899-0089.
It's the domain of legends, forever imprinted on cards clutched in young, eager hands. Now imagine these living myths are all turned to you, expectant.
This bat's yours, right?
That's the one, kid.
To a child with a life-threatening illness, being a bat boy for his favorite team wasn't the end of all his youthful hopes. It was the beginning. Visit the Make-A-Wish Foundation at wish.org and share the power of a wish.
If you think you're safe in the sun, you're not. 5 or more sunburns double your risk of developing skin cancer. It's your skin. Protect it. Brought to you by the American Academy of Dermatology. For more information, visit aad.org.
You are listening to Web Radio WCWP in Brookville, New York. And this is the show called Taking Care of Business with your hosts Rick Frishman in Alaska and Richard Solomon here in Brookville, New York. How are you, Rick?
Hey, doing good. I'll tell you, it's a really fun show, and then I love watching you try to run the board from Alaska here. You're doing a good job.
It's a lot of fun. I'm telling you, this is just the beginning. This show has been just so action-packed. I actually want to go into the very next song. Okay, the next song is, let me have Tim introduce it. First of all, this is Timmy Rockmore of the band Jonestown, and if you want to hear more, you can reach Tim at
Timmy_Rock2006 at yahoo.com.
Okay, now what's the next song we're going to hear? This is track number 9 from the CD.
Sure, this is called She Believes, and it's a bit of a country tune.
Okay, and here we go.
She rises from another night, riding by the side of another man. Can never see to recall the falling heart. The last time she let it run far and wide. She hides from present loneliness, guessing games she plays with a faith in what's no more. She believes the answer lies. She believes in one more try. She tried one more and then it seems many promises that she's receiving. Now who can guess what she believes? She's taken by a mythical belief. Increasing cease to be. Need to read the signs. Lines them up to knock them down. Around the world keeps turning. She yearns to be awakened. Well, I can see when she kisses me, missing pieces of the misery that is her life. She believes the answer lies. She believes in one more try. She tried one more and then it seems many promises that she's receiving. Now who can guess what she believes? She believes the answer lies. She believes in one more try. She tried one more and then it seems many promises that she's receiving. Now who can guess what she believes? Now who can guess what she believes? She rises from another night.
That is one pretty song. Time is just flying. Time is just flying. You're on web radio, WCWP, Taking Care of Business with Richard Solomon and Rick Frishman. Rick, how'd you like that song?
That was the best one of all. What was that called?
That's a country song, and what's it called?
It's called She Believes, and the band is Jonestown.
And who wrote that song?
Freddie Mac.
Freddie Mac. Speaking about personalities in the music industry, boy, we only have 7 minutes left on the show. Who have been your influences in the music business? Who are the people that have brought you in different directions, gave you new ideas? In many ways, Rick is someone who's been a great influence on my life. I probably wouldn't be where I am without him.
Well, when we were shopping for record labels and trying to get things going with my first real band, Brother Mustard, I got the opportunity to have a sit-in meeting with Steve Lieber, who was the manager for a long time and the first manager for AC/DC and Aerosmith. And he gave me and my bandmates some amazing advice, which was basically to say, well, if you had, he asked me a question. He said, if you had your own money that you could borrow from your family or your grandparents or whatever, or why would you need a record label? And
so self-publishing.
Well, he was getting at that. Basically, he said, "Why would you need to go to a record label, for anything?" And I guess the answer we have now is, well, they're good at marketing and they would be instrumental in distribution, which is a very important thing. But a lot of bands today, they do deals where they do independent distribution. Or they'll find a national distribution company like Caroline. But his advice was to do, he gave us a lot of advice, but that was one of the main things was to stick together as a band and to try to run the business yourself like as if it was your own small business.
You are listening to Web Radio WCWP in Brookville, New York. The show is called Taking Care of Business, and we only have a little bit of time, so I want to try to squeeze in as much of the next song as possible. This is track number 7. What song is this? This is Voices?
This is Voices.
Oh, maybe not. Let's see. Well, while we're queuing this up, tell us a little bit about Voices.
Sure. Jonestown. It's this is kind of a rocker. It's a blast to play live. It's got a sort of a surprise kind of a part in the middle that I think people will really dig.
Keep talking. We're having a little bit of a technical here.
Oh, okay.
issue here.
Sure. Going back to advice as far as mentoring. I also got a chance to talk with Peter Mensch on the phone, who who worked with the company Q Prime and also found Def Leppard and worked with Steve Lieber at one point and managed. AC/DC, you'll see his name on the Back in Black record, and also managed Metallica. And his advice for the music industry was pretty much to stick together as a band and try to work as a team.
Is that the greatest challenge, sticking together? Is that?
Yeah, it's very hard. There's a lot of ego that happens, especially with, you got a songwriter and a singer who, gets told by record labels left and right that they want to go off separate. We'll put a band behind you, things like that. The reality is that the bands that stick together, like the model bands that made the most money in the music industry, the Grateful Dead, AC/DC,
some of my favorites,
Metallica, they all run their own business. They know their own show. They handle everything from merchandising through through working directly with distribution sometimes.
Speaking of distribution,
sure.
Everywhere you go, you see iPods, and you see downloadable music and iTunes and all these other things. As a business person in the music industry, has that affected the formula for thinking about music? Is the CD still a viable product? Will it be? Is that what people are looking at? And how does all the ability to copy music so quickly and easily affect you as a business person in the music business?
That's a very serious question, and that is the big question in the future. I happen to know personally a bunch of people in the music industry. Some are at Sony, but I'm not going to name any names. But that is the big fear. There is a huge issue with piracy and the record labels trying to catch up. There are a lot of scare tactics going on, with the Napster litigations, etc.
Wasn't there one recently against another website? Went to the Supreme Court.
Kazaa, I guess, maybe one of them.
I don't remember. I remember reading in the legal trade papers about that.
But the answer is that it's a great time for independent songwriters that want to do away with the middleman. The problem is that there's no more. There's going to be less money in the future for investing in art. Meaning, if you're a record label. With home studios, recording and everything, the industry has changed where you don't spend a lot of time investing in an artist the way you used to, because everyone can come to you with a finished product already. You just do the licensing and get it out. If you believe that it's a necessary product. And also, record companies have gone to do 5-point recording. And DVD packaging with their CDs to try to entice buyers to buy the package as opposed to copy it to somebody else. There's still a lot with CDs and packaging and having your own library, but yeah, it's a big problem, electronic file sharing.
Tim, you've been a wonderful guest. We're going to have you come back just to play more tunes and hang with us. To get in touch with you real fast, we have 30 seconds.
Timmy_Rock 2006 at yahoo.com.
I'm Rich Solomon from smallclaimsbook.com. Rick Frishman from Alaska. How can they get in touch with you?
You can reach me at rick@rickfrishman.com or just go to my website, rickfrishman.com. Pull down your $1 million Rolodex, 45 pages of information. We'll see you next week at Taking Care of Business.
That's a great show. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we're out of time.